I really enjoyed making those videos a couple of months ago about Taylor Swift songs that remind me of Jane Austen couples. So this month, I'm doing one for Taylor Swift songs that make me think of couples from Shakespeare. Now, obviously, I'm not doing every couple from Shakespeare because I haven't read every play by Shakespeare, and even in the ones that I have read, there are so many couples, and there aren't always Taylor Swift songs that make me think of them. But I did pick out 10 couples from a whole bunch of different plays, both comedies and tragedies, and I'm going to talk about why the songs remind me of the couples. I want to start with Hamlet and Ophelia. Now, there are a lot of songs that I could have picked for them because their relationship really crashes and burns, and Taylor Swift does that really well. The one that I chose is actually a little bit less depressing than some that I could have gone with, but I think it fits them well, and that is The Story of Us. Now I'm standing alone in a crowded room and we're not speaking, and I'm dying to know, is it killing you like it's killing me? I don't know what to say since the twist of fate when it all broke down, and the story of us looks a lot like a tragedy now. I feel like it would need to be from Ophelia's point of view, because I get the feeling that she doesn't really understand what went wrong with Hamlet. Obviously, she's not necessarily privy to everything that's going on with him, with his uncle and his father's ghost and everything. So as far as she knows, they were in love and he was sending her like love letters and whatnot. And then all of a sudden he's given her the cold shoulder and telling her to go join a nunnery and whatnot. So I feel like she would definitely have that feeling of like, what even happened between us? Like, I don't understand. It was perfect and now it's in ruins. Next on my list is Miranda and Ferdinand from The Tempest. Now, Miranda and Ferdinand remind me a lot of Romeo and Juliet. Their families are enemies, there's a lot of bad blood between them, but they hit it off right away, and they are totally opposed to the idea that, her father could say, y'all don't belong together. So they're just, secretly falling in love, and actually in this case, her father is kind of wanting that to happen, and the only reason that he pretends to be opposed to it is to try and, make them work all the harder at it in, rebellious teenage opposition. So with that being the case, with them being very much like Romeo and Juliet, but with a happy ending and eventual parental approval, I feel like the song Love Story is actually much more well suited to them than to the actual Romeo and Juliet. Yes, it makes a ton of Romeo and Juliet references, but it has a happy ending. And so does Miranda and Ferdinand's story. Macbeth and Lady Macbeth might not be the first couple that you thought of when I said Taylor Swift songs for Shakespeare couples, but actually they are, a pretty interesting couple. Their dynamic is super messed up, obviously, because, she's egging him on to commit murder, but still, they're married and they seem to love each other. So, you know what? I gave them a song. The song is Ready for It from Taylor Swift's album Reputation. The line in Ready for It that reminded me of them was, knew he was a killer first time that I saw him. And then later on, but if he's a thief, then I can join the heist and we'll move to an island. I get the feeling that they're very much like partners in crime before anything else, Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. And so I think that kind of dynamic in the song suits them really well. From A Midsummer Night's Dream, Helena and Lysander, the song that I picked was Wonderland. The song Wonderland is basically about running off together and thinking that you're going to have your happily ever after, but then it all goes wrong. We found Wonderland, you and I got lost in it. Life was never worse but never better. We found Wonderland, you and I got lost in it. We pretended it could last forever. Didn't it all seem new and exciting? I felt your arms twisting around me. I should have slept with one eye open at night. What that makes me think of is not the ending, which obviously it's a comedy, so it's a happy ending for them. But it makes me think of the part where he ends up with the love potion in his eyes, and he falls in love with Helena instead. So Hermia throws away everything to run off with this guy, and then 10 minutes into their journey practically, he's running off with another girl. And so the song Wonderland reminded me of that segment of their journey. One more couple from A Midsummer Night's Dream, let's talk about Helena and Demetrius. I think the song Invisible from Taylor Swift's first album suits them very well. There are a lot of unrequited Taylor Swift love songs, but this one I think especially suits them well because it's a situation where there's not even friendship between any of the parties. Helena loves Demetrius, who loves Hermia, who loves Lysander. And so with that being the case, you can't see me wanting you the way you want her, but you are everything to me. I feel like that could very easily describe Helena's point of view on the events of A Midsummer Night's Dream. Next up is Beatrice and Benedict from Much Ado About Nothing. The song that I chose was Afterglow. This was a kind of hard decision. Sometime I'm going to make a video about how they are very similar to Elizabeth and Darcy from Pride and Prejudice. They have that same kind of rivalry turned to love kind of dynamic. Not that they're really enemies at the beginning, but they like to engage in witty, not entirely friendly banter, which slowly makes its way to the point of revealing that they're in love with each other. And that's the point where it seems like they all of a sudden become very vulnerable towards each other. Because while they could exchange barbs early on and it didn't really matter, now that they know that they're in love, it's very different. So the line that says, "Fighting with a true love is boxing with no gloves, chemistry till it blows up till there's no us," that reminded me of them in their kind of darkest hour before the ending of the play. Again, though, this one is a comedy, so it doesn't end on that note. Moving over to one of the tragedies, I'm currently reading Antony and Cleopatra, and there's only one song that I could possibly pick for them out of the Taylor Swift songs, and that is Illicit Affairs, because it's totally an illicit affair. Caesar is married at the beginning. His wife dies. He remarries to Octavia. He does so fully knowing that he's planning on cheating on her with Cleopatra. So the song Illicit Affairs is about this relationship that started out very sweet and genuine, despite the fact that one of them is not actually available to be getting into a relationship, and very quickly turns to be something destructive and negative because of the nature of their relationship, because one of them is cheating with the other. That's the thing about illicit affairs and clandestine meetings and longing stares. They show their truth just one single time, but they lie and they lie and they lie a million little times. To me, that kind of epitomizes the Antony and Cleopatra relationship as I've seen it so far. Rosalind and Orlando from As You Like It make me think of the song I Know Places. I Know Places is kind of about running away with your lover and knowing places you can hide where nobody will be able to find you, and I think it's kind of meant to be about like avoiding the paparazzi or whatever, but it works really well also for the whole running away into the Forest of Arden thing. So I kind of like it for them because of that. Trellis and Cressida from the play Trellis and Cressida are not a very popular couple. And I can see why, because it doesn't end very well for them. And also because the play, just in general, is not one of Shakespeare's most popular or highly regarded plays. I do have kind of a soft spot for it, though. And so I wanted to give Trellis and Cressida a song. That song is Exile from the Taylor Swift album Folklore, because that's basically what happens between them. I think I've seen this film before, and I didn't like the ending. I'm not your problem anymore, so who am I offending now? You are my crown, now I'm in exile seeing you out. Basically, it takes place during the Trojan War, and Trellis and Cressida are both Trojan, but her father defects to the Greek side, and so she is sent to the Greeks to be with her father. And she leaves Troilus behind, and she finds a new lover among the Greeks. And Troilus finds out, and he is just heartbroken. And then finally, the last one, the one that I know you've been waiting to hear because, you know, it's what people think of when they think of Shakespeare couples. Romeo and Juliet. You'll notice I chose Love Story from Miranda and Ferdinand, so I'm not giving it to Romeo and Juliet as well. The song I chose for them is Cruel Summer from the album Lover. I think that the song Cruel Summer captures the Romeo and Juliet dynamic a whole lot better than Love Story does, actually. Some of the lines like, "I snuck in through the garden gate every night that summer just to seal my fate, and I screamed for whatever it's worth, I love you, ain't that the worst thing you ever heard." It feels like it's two people who really shouldn't be falling in love with each other who are, and who are kind of seeing each other in secret and going about everything in a very kind of secretive way. And so that really makes me think of Romeo and Juliet. And plus the reference to the garden gate makes me think of the balcony scene and, you know, what's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name will smell as sweet. What are your thoughts? Which songs remind you of Shakespeare couples? Feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you liked this and you'd like to see more by me, be sure to subscribe. I post new videos twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays.